Maryland side. I lived in Virginia
Yeah.
at the time, and so we worked in different departments. And then shortly after, we ended up seeing each other for a bit, and then getting married and moving back to Minnesota, which is where my husband's from. So
Okay.
we lived there for about 10 years, and then we've been back in Dallas about 10 years because his oldest son at one point moved away from Minnesota, and we're like, okay, there's nothing keeping us here. We can, go south where it's warmer. And
Yeah.
so we basically headed to Texas, and we've been here now almost 11 years. So
Oh, nice. Okay. Okay.
how
And
about you? Tell me a little bit.
yeah, yeah, me. What can I say? I came from England originally, been here now 22 years in America. So I came over to meet my future bride. We got married and she died in 2017. I
Oh,
married
I'm sorry.
again. But I do have three grown-up children. They're in the UK. The eldest is nearly 40, youngest is about 32. Um, he's married. The youngest is married, the other two aren't. And yeah, I've been walking with the Lord now for over 50 years, 53 years. So I
That's
love
awesome.
mission. Very passionate about mission, trying to get back on the mission field. Last
Oh, yeah. I love missions as
yeah,
well. Hmm.
yeah, I got last mission trip was to the Philippines right before COVID in 2020. So it was February 2020, just after that volcano had gone off. We did some relief work there. That was a lot of
Yeah.
and but I've always been in like real estate. Always had it like in my blood, as it were. So I cut my teeth on cotton sheets, no money down. Uh, over 22 years ago now, got into multifamily. I've written several books on investing in real estate. What else can I say? Oh, I promote Legal Shield because that's one of the biggest components that was missing for me first time round because I got knocked out of the game. I ended up being bankrupt actually in
Say
2009.
it again. Legal what?
Legal Shield is
Oh,
kind
okay.
of having attorneys on retainer without you worrying about paying their bills. You pay like a monthly fee. And so being in real estate, you need an attorney every time you sneeze. So
Yeah,
that's
pretty much.
I
Yeah.
think I mentioned that on Sarah's call, yeah. But yeah, so I'm involved with that on a day-to-day basis because I'm like on a mission to help other real estate investors not lose all this money all the time that I keep hearing about in the community, you
Yeah.
know? Because I'm
Yeah.
a gator. Are you sub two or gator or what?
A gator at this point. I have sort of my education started in a couple of other groups. I'm a part of the Women's Real Estate Investment Network in Dallas, and
Oh,
then
nice.
I actually joined that last May, and
Yeah.
then a year ago. And then in December, I joined Multifamily Mindset to kind of learn more about apartment
Oh, I did that as
management,
well. Yeah,
that.
that's what I did.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how I got
Tyler.
really into it. You're Tyler. Yes, fantastic. So why real estate for you? I mean, you sound so busy and involved with the ministry and being
You
ordained
know,
and everything. And sounds
it
like you haven't
really
got
comes back
time.
to, yeah, it really comes back to really missions, right? For me, I make good money in my day job. I'm in sales. So I started my career in technology as a developer, kind of pivoted halfway through because although I liked solving problems, I liked working through it with people on the other end more. A lot of developers, you end up working by yourself or, in a silo. And, I really am extroverted. So just sort of pivoted halfway through my career and, learned project and program and portfolio management and sales and team management, account management, all that stuff. And so I feel like a lot of the skills are transferable to real estate.
Yeah.
You know, and from my perspective, I want to be able to give more and do more mission trips and do more kingdom stuff, right? It's not
Wow.
for me, it's not just about,
You're singing from my
setting my
song
kids
sheet.
up for a trust fund and all that stuff. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
great side benefit, but
Yeah.
you know, my heart is really to serve. I started doing missions in 2015, and I've gotten the opportunity to, to do lots of different kinds of missions, from construction to medical missions to teaching leadership and doing kids camps and
Yeah.
just all everything in between. And I've even gotten to do a few crusades, or at least one crusade. And I've gotten to go some pretty awesome places. I've gotten to go to, Mexico and Guatemala and Chiapas and
Wow.
I've gotten to go to Africa a few times, and I've gotten to go to Hungary and Peru and, just
Mm.
I love to travel. So for me, you know,
Our church goes to all those places.
yeah,
Peru is very challenging, of course, because the elevation.
yes,
But
yes.
I went with my church. We're the organization we go is Global Infusion. I don't know whether you've heard of.
Okay.
You might
Uh,
like to look them up as well. I'm amazed at how much you're singing from nice song sheet, as it were.
yeah, I
Oh,
love mission work. And honestly, I feel like when you go to, it's one thing to go in your own country to do missions, and we do lots of, you know, service work here in the States. But when you go to another country and you're able to kind of be plucked out of your own, comfort zone and your own space and your own everything, you
yeah.
get to see different cultures. You get an opportunity to see the differences in what's
Right.
normal for them. And
Yeah.
for me, I love that aspect of it. My husband and I have been a really good team. He's been kind of base camp for me when I've gone on these trips, because since our kids were little when I started, and um, a decade ago almost. And he's sort of introverted, likes to support from the back, and so it works
Yeah.
out well, because I like to go get in the,
I
sticks
like
and,
that.
the
Yeah.
mud and just, do all the things. And so for me, it really is about kingdom. My husband and I both went through becoming ordained ministers a couple years ago. Our pastor brought about 75 of us through the ordination process. We went to
Wonderful.
school
Yeah.
or his school of ministry for 9 months or so, and got ordained at the end of it. And I mean, pretty much everything that we do revolves around ministry.
Yeah.
So
It's
um,
great, isn't it? It's so much better than just making money to buy a better car, you know?
yeah, I mean, to
It's
me,
like
it's like,
eternal consequences, you know, it's
yeah,
so much more fulfilling. Like that's really, and I love traveling, but I love traveling on mission. So, because you
yeah,
find out really what that country is about, the culture, meeting the real
yeah,
people, not on vacation on a beach, right? It's a completely different situation.
yes.
You get to learn so much. I mean, I've been probably to the Philippines now 8 times.
Oh, wow.
Started in the 90s and had the privilege of leading a couple of teams there, you know, and it's life
Yeah.
changing. I wouldn't.
It really is. I mean, I always say to people who've never done mission work, it's like a much needed interruption to our first world problems. When my kids complain about my cell phone battery isn't, staying
Right.
charged and blah blah blah. you
Yes.
know, it, it's
Yeah.
nice to be able to say, there are bigger problems that people have in this world than a charged cell phone battery or whatever the, issue is. And so my goal is, I've gotten to take our oldest on a mission trip. She went down to Guatemala with me when she was 16 or 17. And I got to find some trips for, my 16-year-old to go on, because it's, I want each of them to have at least one mission experience before they
Yes,
graduate, because I feel like it is very eye-opening,
it
and it
is.
helps them to have more appreciation for,
It does.
the
Yes.
abnormal life that we have as a first world country, compared
I
to
know. I know.
other places.
I remember one of the most memorable things that sticks out for me was the difficulty I had even going back into my house after
Yeah,
returning from a mission trip. It looked like a palace.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
it was an ordinary house from when I left, and it ended up being a palace on return. I could
Well,
hardly.
yeah. I mean, your eyes are so opened when, It's like I know when we've gone to Guatemala, the doctors that I work with there, I've done a lot of my trips with the main doctor that kind of does that program. And he has an organization called the Great Commission Outreach, and they've adopted a few villages in Guatemala because it's super easy to get to from Texas. It's just a few hours and no time zone change or anything. And
Yeah.
they've been able to build a school and a clinic there. And they literally, when I took my daughter, it was great because they took dentists to do, dental work. They took, chiropractors, they took doctors and nurses. They set up a pharmacy. We are counting pills and sticking them in babies and things. And
That's
they brought eyeglasses for just readers, not necessarily the whole kit and caboodle, but
mm.
just reader glasses for people who are farsighted. And it was very eye-opening, I think, for my daughter. Because like they give food baskets out to the families that keep their children in school because otherwise they put them in the field and make them work at very, very young ages. And they're not able to have the same education that other families would be able to give their kids or, what you would expect normal kids would have, right? I mean, literally, they pluck the kids out of school and put them in the field and put them to work because it's really their livelihood. And so, this organization will give food baskets to those families who keep their children in school so they have more opportunities. And so it's really, I feel like it's so eye-opening. My daughter, she got to work with some of the nurses and learn how to take blood sugars and, went on some house calls and, got to see the kids in the villages. And I mean, they just adored her and it was so much fun. And I want that for each of my kids to at least have one experience like that because I feel like it does open their eyes that like, hey,
Mm.
not every kid has their own room and their own bathroom.
Right,
Not
right.
every kid has a cell phone or a car at 16.
Yeah,
There's bigger problems in this world than just
yeah.
what I myself need and want and all of the things. And so, that's really been my heart. I mean, I feel like
Mm.
I was so feeling drawn to the mission field starting about 2015. And, I have gotten a chance to go to Africa a few times, and that's been an amazing opportunity. And we got to
Wow.
do an evangelistic, trip to Hungary. And that was really cool to see the different cultures there and you're very European, and, do evangelism in the streets, in the quarters of the city and that, and then go out to the countryside and minister to people out there too. And I mean it's been amazing. I got to travel with Bernie Moore Ministries. He's an evangelist here in the States that lives in my town, and he does evangelism all over the world. He's done a lot in Africa. He's
Mm.
done some European cities as well. But we got to do a huge, huge crusade in Uganda, and it was
Mm.
literally like 250,000 people came. We got to teach
Wow.
leadership to some of the pastors, probably 300 pastors that they set up a big tent and we got to bring some of the leadership teaching that we had. And it was just, it was amazing. And, we got to split up and go to different churches and each of us got to preach and share some of our testimony and
Right,
just,
right.
got an opportunity to just really be embedded in their environments. And it was just, my heart is just so full when I'm on the mission field because I know that I am doing the thing that God put me on this planet to do.
Yeah,
And
that's right. Yeah.
it's awesome. So
It's a
that's really been kind of my experience with missions. And, when I started the whole real estate thing, we kind of fell into it a little bit, in the middle of COVID, we went to Hawaii and um, we were like, man, this place is beautiful. How do we get more of this in our life? And we ended up buying a short-term rental there.
oh
We came back
wow.
home and figured out like, okay, how can we move some things around, some principal from our main property to put a down payment down, on a property in Maui. And so we bought it 3 years ago, and it's been on Airbnb, and it's done pretty well up until the fires kind of slowed some things down. But at least we've been able to cover our costs. The whole idea was like have a little bit more cash flow when our kids started going to college so that we could
Yeah.
cover some of those expenses. And
Yeah.
that's been really fun. And then, we ended up having like a water leak in our house, and
Oh,
we had to move out of our house, and we were in an Airbnb for 3 months because it was
wow.
like Christmas Eve, the water leak happened. We had a big freeze, and one of the outside pipes, to our dining room actually broke, and we didn't know it. And then when things started thawing, I
Yeah.
turned the water on to fill the pool, and all of a sudden water started coming up through the wood floors in the
Oh
kitchen.
man.
And so, we moved out of our house for 3 months and moved into an Airbnb because we have animals and kids and all the things. And the lady on the Airbnb had like 28 properties. And we were like, okay, we just went through like buying a second property. And that was like, here, let me sign away my firstborn, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like clearly she knows something we don't know. And so that started the process of me thinking about, okay, how can we, get into more properties? How can we figure out how to make some extra income with real estate? And then I joined the Women's Real Estate Investment Network. And then I actually bought my first flip last year, and I've had some trouble selling it. It finished in April earlier this year, and I've had it on the market like 6 months, had to extend my hard money loan a couple of times. And I'm
Oh
trying to
dear.
find a creative solution to figure this thing out,
Yeah.
like maybe somebody that wants to be an equity partner could help me turn it into a pad split or something, because at this point I'm hemorrhaging money and need to get out of that thing.
Have you
So
tried the penalty box?
what is that? I don't know what that is.
People who don't qualify for mortgage and yet they're well qualified, really. They're like professionals, maybe a doctor's moved from one state to another. They don't qualify for loan.
Yeah.
So what you do is what kind of loan have you got on it? Have you got a hard money loan? Have you?
Yeah, it's a hard money loan at like 12.99%. So it's
How
brutal.
much? How much? Eh,
It's so right now I owe 443.
443,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you won't do what there. The penalty box really is like a wraparound, but I wonder whether can you get a traditional loan on that with the
So I
bank?
haven't tried a traditional loan because we bought our Hawaii property as a traditional, and I'm not sure if the debt to income will work because
You should
my
be
husband
able
lost
to.
his job. Well, I don't know. My husband lost his job 3 months ago, so that's another wrinkle that is kind of, thrown in the mix
Understood,
there.
but it's an investment property, so you might be able to do it. If you secure a contract, a lease, you can do a lease option. Uh,
Yeah, that's one of the things I've been thinking about. When I bought the property, I was not intending to actually lease it. The numbers are a little tight on that area, at least with the current loan. I mean, I think it would have to be like $4,200 a month just to cover everything.
you might
Well, in
do
its
it.
current form, it would be like close to 5,000, right? And
Right, right.
if I even if I
That's why I say the penalty box, because there are families out there desperate for a home. They don't
okay,
qualify for a conventional loan. So
okay,
they're willing to pay retail plus. I call it retail
okay,
plus. And
okay.
try it. You don't know. Now, relocation um, organizations are good to get leads from.
Mm-hmm.
People who are moving from one state to another. You can imagine a young doctor relocating. They get great
Yeah.
wages. They just need a roof over their head. They don't really care that they're paying over the odds a little bit.
Well, and I can tell you, I mean, the house turned out beautifully. Here I can pull up. I don't know if I can share or not, but I could share with you what it looks like. I mean, the renovation turned out really, I was really happy with the way it turned out. It's a 4 bedroom, 3.5 bath, and
How close is it to any major hospitals?
it's very close to hospitals. It's also very close
You're going to get
to
leads from hospitals.
university.
Yes. So go to the hospitals and see if there's a bulletin board you can put.
Yeah, that's a great
But
idea.
And because all the young, especially doctors who've just moved in, right? So from another state,
Yeah.
to say, um, well qualified, and they'll give you
Yeah.
a good down payment, right? A good NROC, right? The
Yeah.
option. So try that.
So I can share with you. Oh, I don't know if I'm able to share or not, but I can drop it out
You
in
might
the
be able
chat.
to. What you say you've renewed your hard money loan? You want to try and get out of that as quickly as possible, though. You do want to try and get some.
Yeah, the challenge is I've extended it twice and they charge me 1% for each 90 days that I have to extend it. So I had to pay 3 points up front, 12.99 interest, and then I've extended it twice now, and I'm probably gonna have to extend it here on November 1st.
Here's your steps. So step one, advertise in the local hospitals, right? Because
Yeah.
you want a doctor. Once you've secured a lease with an option to buy, take that to the bank. You should be able to get a loan then. No problem.
Yeah, I was trying to refinance it before and I had all my paperwork submitted and then they asked for the active lease and I'm like, well, I've only had it on the market. I haven't actually gotten a lease on it. And so that I had to stop with the lender that I was with. And then I did this stupid thing that I didn't realize the implication of. I have a credit card that has some of the things that I purchased for the house that was a business card.
Hmm.
And what I ended up, when my husband lost his job, I ended up having kind of a knee jerk reaction. Oh, I got to get out of this credit card because it's high interest. So I transferred it to my personal card
Right,
and it increased our debt to income ratio. So then our FICO took a, 100-point nosedive.
right.
And so I was like, oh, that's not what I was hoping for. And so then, trying to get it refinanced, I've had, some trouble because, my FICO score went.
Yeah, you got to get out of that mindset about personal and business. They're separate, okay? Separate
Yeah.
entirely. Nothing to do with
Yeah.
your personal credit anymore. If you can get out of that thinking, you'll
Yeah.
find solutions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was not the intention. I was just, more thinking like my, income has to cover everything that we have right now. And,
It doesn't. No, no, no. The idea is for money in your pocket, not to take it out of your pocket.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's the biggest thing with large multifamilies. I wouldn't dream I could be part of buying a 10 to $100 million property in large multifamilies. Well, the truth is I can't, but a team can.
right.
The money's
Right.
out there and we to find it, right? So it's just not
Yeah.
how to navigate that path. So
Yeah.
with your situation here, it's not dependent on your resources.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I've been trying to kind of figure out like some creative solutions. I've had a few people trying to help me connect me with people in different, in different positions that may have some more creative options. Like the house is currently it's a 4.3 1/2, and it
I just
yep.
had an idea as well. Does your church have any connections with the hospitals in any way?
Not so much. We don't, I mean, we will go in and pray with people and stuff in the hospitals, but not so much. We're more like a teaching ministry. So
Okay. I just thought there might be an existing connection you could use that
yeah,
to work to, as it were, find out if there's somebody in need there.
yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to figure out like, okay, how do I either structure something creative, it has the opportunity to potentially be a pad split if you added a few more rooms to it. You could take the living room and divide it into a couple rooms. You could take the dining room, add another room there if you wanted, and then it's got a standalone garage out back that could be converted into like a standalone garage apartment. Um, but that all takes extra cash, and I'm out of cash on this thing pretty
That's
much.
right.
So
Yeah, that's right. That's a longer thing. You'd have to go into a deal to do that, right?
yeah,
Changing direction when you're already in a project is very hard to do. Uh,
yeah. Well, and the project's done from what I had planned to do with it, right? Like
right. Mm.
just really need to get it sold. So, you know, I was thinking I might, try to drop the price down. I've heard that like sometimes lenders, if you change directions, like for example, if you try to sell it, you need to decide whether you're going to sell it or you're going to rent it. Because what I've heard is sometimes the lenders will take the lower of the last listing price that maybe it didn't go for versus the appraisal.
Mm.
So I don't know. Um,
Okay. Well, we'll certainly pray about that for you, and yeah, certainly
yeah,
what happens with that. So
yeah, for sure, for
yeah,
sure.
that'd be nice. All right, very good. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you, Andrea, and connecting
Yeah,
with you. Certainly, book another call with me if you feel so inclined, and
yeah, absolutely.
maybe talk about large multifamilies next time. Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. I've got about a little over 500 doors as an LP on multifamily sides. So I'm starting to learn the process over there. I've not done any GPing yet, but at some point I'm hoping to get there.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. I'm glad you got LP's experience on that. That's very good. Do they keep you updated? Are they good at communicating? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I've got 4 different groups that I'm working with, so there's definitely a vast difference in how they communicate and when things happen, what goes on. So
Oh, very good. All right. Well, God bless you, and we'll
God bless you as well.
thank you for connecting with me. I've really enjoyed
Yeah,
it all.
have a great week.
You too. God bless.